Okay, it is 2 o'clock. We will get started. Hype music was on. I'm ready to rock and roll. Uh, Diana and Journey, I first have to thank both of you so very much for being here with us today. If you guys don't follow them on socials, first off, before you do anything else, I would follow both of them right now. They're both incredible. They both have a little bit different spin on it. But Diana, and then Journey, I'll go over to you. Do you want to, for those who are on the call who might not be in your market center or know you, could you give a quick introduction of you, how long you've been in real estate or whatever else you want to say?
Okay, can you hear me? I'm sorry, I have my headphones in. I just want to make sure. Okay, so my name's Diana Magno. I am with the Magno Group at Keller Williams Living. It is my husband and I, and then we just brought on our first buyer's agent, Alex. Um, what am I missing?
That's all. That's fine. And Journey, what about you? A little quick intro, maybe how long you've been in the business, anything else you want to say?
Yeah, so my name's Journey. I am with Keller Williams Living, started there and have been there since. I have been around for about three and a half years now.
And one thing I would like to brag on both of them last year, if they're not going to brag on themselves. So Diana and Mike were the #1 duo in our entire Keller Williams region. And when I say region, that means all of Michigan and Northern Ohio, which that's amazing. And then Journey, I don't know if you heard him say, he's just been in the business about 3 years. I don't want to say just Journey, that's not a small amount. However, he was our #1 agent at our brokerage for units last year. He has just like soared to new heights. So guys are in the presence of greatness today. And I am going to, I'm always real bad at this, but I'm going to share my screen. The way today's going to work, we have a little bit of a presentation, and then and we'll kind of do some questions during the presentation, and then after, I have some additional questions I'm going to ask Diana and Journey. And you guys, this can be open. If there's anything you want to ask, feel free to unmute at any time. Okie doke. And can you guys see my screen? It's probably not presenting. Oh, present full screen at your own pace. Bethany.
Yeah, we can see it, Jill.
Okay. Thank you. I don't know. There we go. Now it's letting me present. Okay. Yay. I did it. Sometimes I am a grandma in a 37-year-old's body. Okay. So we have 2024 social media trends. You guys, this class is about building your influence as a realtor. So we all know most of this is going to be, it's all social media. A lot of it's going to be video related. It's not too late to jump on the video bandwagon. If you haven't jumped on the video bandwagon, you need to. It's here and it's here to stay. So to kick us off, this was a quote. Some of these are summarized from a couple classes I've gone on recently. But we had Jeff Glover in over the summer. He came to a Living and Elevate sales meeting, and he said something along the lines of, your future clients have already interviewed you on social media. So gone are the days of, as a real estate agent, I don't have a Facebook. Is that okay? No, it's not okay, because the biggest, we have millennials and Zoomers who are going to be the biggest portion of buyers within the next few years. All of them are going to social media first. So we want to be sure when they go to your social media, they can, one, connect with you, absolutely, without a doubt, and two, get a vibe of your brand, who you are as an agent. They've probably already decided if they're going to work with you based on your social media. So that is super important. And to kick us off, we're going to talk about what is on its way out. So again, this was a class I was on. These aren't necessarily my thoughts. It's sharing from the class. So I'm curious if Diana and Journey would agree. But number one, overproduced transitions, and also people getting too fancy with filters, etc. We have two, the pointing and dancing. We've got some girls down here doing their little TikTok dance. I was a little sad to see this on that slide. And number three, it said to a degree, voiceovers. Voiceovers, if you guys don't know what voiceovers are, you see a video playing, and it's not somebody holding their camera to their face, it's a voiceover. So maybe it's going through video and you have your voice over it. I don't think voiceovers are completely on their way out. I do love them, just don't overuse them. You don't want to pull up your Instagram and only see voiceovers. That's where I would say they're on their way out. Diana or Journey, whichever one wants to go first, would you guys agree with what they're saying is on its way out?
I would probably agree two, and maybe a little bit of one. The voiceover thing is still pretty popular. I mean, I see it everywhere on like Instagram and Facebook. I've never done one or two, so it's not my style.
Yes. Journey, what
Yeah.
about you? Any thoughts on what's on its way out? So
Yeah. I was definitely especially when I started, I was definitely big on number two. I was doing a lot of really, stupid TikTok videos just to try and get views. I would definitely agree. I would think that these things are sort of on their way out, especially like Diana said, one and two being more on its way than three. I think one of the biggest things that I'm seeing with three would be rather than people's voices, they do the like Siri voiceover, where it's either the girl or the guy speaking. I think that is, I don't know if it's growing in popularity or it's already popular, but I see that a lot more often than the people actually talking. You're just having like AI or Siri talk over instead.
I love that. I didn't even think of that. That's a super great thought. Yeah, and I mean, for the sake of everyone else, I've done a couple the dancing videos with my daughter, and I think you guys are going to be happy that I am now seeing that this is on its way out. I won't be doing it anymore. So we talked about what's out, talk about what's coming in. This is not a huge surprise, but number one is a YouTube series. Number two is a podcast. And number three is live video and collaboration. So we're going to see even, well, I don't want to skip to the bonus slide yet. It's funny, you guys, I noticed myself personally, I think, oh gosh, I wanted to do a podcast, but now I see Mike Magno started a podcast, and am I copying off of him? Mike, I'm using you as an example since you're on. However, what I have heard people say recently, even at family reunion, we just had Keller Williams' big family reunion. They said, are you that exact person? Do you have the same exact feelings? No matter what, even if it's the same general topic, it's going to be delivered differently. And what's so great about podcasts is, and we'll talk about this a little bit in the next slide, but you can take podcasts or interviews, chunk them down into an 8-minute video, and then there's something for your YouTube series. Then you could also chunk it down to 60 seconds and there's real content. So I feel like podcasts are huge for that. And then we have live video and collaboration. So Journey and Diana, is there anything else you would add? And of these three things, are you doing any of them at all or at a high level?
So you guys obviously know that Mike does the podcast, Financial Freedom Fighters right here, t-shirt. Got to give him a plug. I a lot of Instagram reels, and I try to stay away from too much real estate when I'm doing them, because I get more feedback when I'm putting out the authentic like bickering between me and Mike about real estate, or if I'm part of a book club and everybody comments on how much I read. So they, they want to have conversations about that through my videos and stuff like that. So.
And I love that you said that your book club and they're commenting on what you're reading. I know we're going to talk about this a little further, but your brand is so important. And what's so cool about video is, and really the way social media is going, you get to connect to people like you. And you are a reader, Diana, so you might connect with buyers and sellers even through a book club just as much as you would giving a market update. So using who you are, I think, with inside of that YouTube series or podcast or whatever it is, being true to that brand. Journey, what about you?
Yeah, I would agree. I think that they have a little advantage with their podcasts, and I'm sure that that takes a ton of time and a ton of effort. So I admire that. And I think that podcasts are definitely something that is extremely popular. I think they're really, really great resources, not only for having podcasts that people can listen to the full episode, but exactly what you mentioned, taking, 3-minute, 2-minute, 1-minute segments from the podcast and then breaking them down into smaller short form content. You can almost take a podcast, assuming it's a good one, and getting another 3, 4, 5 videos out of it. In terms of things that I'm doing, I don't have an actual YouTube series or a podcast myself, but the live video collaboration, those are definitely things that I do a lot more actively now. And one of the things that I might add that might be in right now or more popular is showing evidence of what you're doing. So not just talking about it or collaborating with other people in the industry, but actually showing it. So kind of wrapping in evidence of it and, walking around properties or houses and actually showing evidence of what you're doing versus just saying that you sold this house or that you helped this person, but telling a story with it and describing what might have happened in that house or why you were so valuable in that opportunity versus just kind of talking about it and recording yourself doing it, but just doing a lot more editing to kind of wrap it in and make it more visually entertaining.
I love that. Jose always says facts tell, stories sell. So stories, the more information you can give about it and share the experience, the more you connect with people. And if there's anybody on this call who is thinking about starting a podcast or ripping off the Band-Aid, you guys, even if it's your mom who watches it, it doesn't matter. You can use it as content that you're posting. My coach has a pretty successful podcast. I think they have like 500,000 subscribers, or maybe 100,000. I could be getting my numbers mixed up. Regardless, she's always told me the 2 things you want to focus on the most if you're deciding to do a podcast is who am I a hero to and what problem am I solving? So if you guys feel called to do a podcast on this call, just pay close attention to that. And it might be her podcast is everything life and real estate. So it's not just specifically about real estate. Some of their most listened to podcasts are the ones that they're both into like a lot of homeopathic health things, and they get more listeners from that than they do probably their real estate and leadership episodes. So knowing who am I a hero to and what problem am I solving are 2 super important things. And then we did talk about this briefly. One of the perks of having a podcast, or even if you do a longer video, is the ability to take that into long form, or taking long form content into shorter form videos. So I don't know, you guys might know this. I think they call long form 8 minutes or more. Am I right? Who knows? If Gregor Langer's on this call, I know he would yell at me, but I believe it's like, I believe it's 8 minutes. But being able to chunk this down is super important. My question for you guys is, I've seen people talk about, I don't know if I can share this, but you guys, I think, have somebody who helps with your social media. If you don't have a person that helps with your social media, do you know of any apps that can create reels for you? What's your experience been with that? Because you're both good at reels.
I'm pretty sure, Journey, you and I have the same social media guy, so we can give a little bravo to Alex there.
He is amazing.
he- Before we hired him, I just did everything through Instagram. I mean, I am not super tech savvy, so that's just been my platform is social media, Instagram, Facebook. But Mike and I, we film all of our content with our social media manager at once, and he just breaks it up for us.
Hmm. So you get like all your video out in one day.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's great.
So like yesterday we did a investment property walkthrough with a bunch of agents. He tagged along, he did some content for our new team member. He got a bunch of content of Mike teaching the class. We did some interviews, and then he'll break it up through the month.
Hmm. That's awesome. Journey, what about you? Either experience or do you have any intel of what apps are good to create reels or any
Yeah.
AI?
Yeah, so I'm not super so yeah, again, I work with Alex as well. So he does, is extremely helpful in all of the actual editing and posting. But app wise, I'm not super familiar with anything with AI that will be able to kind of take away that piece of it. I know something big that I was doing when I was doing a lot of the content myself, a year ago or, over a year ago, is I would go into TikTok and Instagram and go to their trending page. And you can actually just search their like top 10 trending songs or top 10 trending audios, and just kind of go through and see what is popular at that time. And the goal is to try and catch the audio that hasn't hit the top yet, and is kind of working on its way up. So that way, hopefully your video will be the one that kind of launches it to the top. And another app that I was using was an app called ScreenPal. And that was something that I was using a ton with, like having an image on the background and then putting my face as an overlay. Like my market updates, for example, I was using ScreenPal where I would have that video and then I could just record my face over top of the screen and then just taking it from there and then uploading to, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever other website. So that was a big app that I was using.
I've always wondered how you did that, Journey. And we're actually going to get into that. So talking more about what's in is some of the hottest things right now. And it's not just these three. We're going to go through a few slides of what's in, but we have, when they say they want to know what your opinion is, there's something called thought leadership right now. And we talk about this in I think just at a team meeting recently we did. We want to be the local economist of choice. How are you the thought leader in your field? What do you know? How can you deliver it? And three ways of doing that is the green screen. And I don't necessarily mean a green screen. I mean what Journey's talking about. What your take on the news is, although I would encourage you, if you were on Jose's class this morning, maybe don't say a ton about the NAR stuff right now. But other things, you feel free to. And then also even just the simple face-to-face cam. So in this class, and I think I shared this class with you guys last night, maybe, something they said is people will always ask, what equipment do I need? I want to get this fancy light or this fancy camera or this green screen. You guys, 9 times out of 10, like you don't need anything fancy. You just need to be able to deliver video. So my question to you guys would be, out of these, what's your favorite way to share your opinion? Journey, let's start with you.
Yeah, so I was doing a ton of the green screen, like you mentioned, especially with my like market updates or like deal analysis, where I would kind of put something on the background and then use ScreenPal to record my video and my face and my audio to explain what was on the screen. So you can do a very, very similar thing with your take on the news and just basically put like an article or a title of a video or a podcast, whatever it is, behind you, and then just kind of talk about it that way. So I would think that these are really good. I know something that I'm working with Alex closely about is just trying to make sure that you are not giving too much information at one time. So the biggest thing on my like market updates, for example, was I'm just very, very analytical and detailed with a lot of the things that I do. So having, you know, 3 different graphs behind me while I'm also talking and moving my hands on the screen, it's just way too much happening at the same time. So you need to have some sort of system where you can point at exactly what you're talking about and really just try to slow down and break that video maybe down into 2 or 3 different videos so you can see exactly what you're talking about and try and grab people. Because if you show too much information or talk too fast, they're just going to skip right over it and not be able to really recognize what you're doing. To go to what you were talking about with equipment, I had nothing. I mean, when I was doing all of my videos before, I just had my phone. So I had apps that I would go in and download. I didn't have any sort of recording light or anything. I think my lighting's really bad right now, but if you turn me this way and open up with the light, it gets a lot better. So
Ah,
you
yeah.
just have to understand where your lighting is at, and make sure that you are recording it in the best way that you can. You have to be somewhat close to your phone if you don't have a microphone. Something that I do all the time is I would go to houses, say I get there, you know, 10 minutes early, 15 minutes early, or I stay, you know, 10 minutes late, and I would just find a nice window on the second floor, put my phone right on the windowsill, and then take a step back. And because that light coming in, it's perfect to just be able to record because you're just getting all of that natural light and it looks really, really good. So that would be the biggest things that I was kind of doing and my take on what to kind of try and record with.
That's great. And you just gave me a great idea for Diana. When you said you could even use the green screen for your take on the news, Diana, you could do a book review, like have the page almost behind you and talk about your favorite points of the book. I love it.
Yeah, I've been I actually told Mike I need to get better at equipment or even just learning it because I don't use any of his equipment. I do everything on my phone. But to get out there more doing book reviews and then like when I'm on vacation, I always post like my day to day, what I'm doing. And I get a lot of feedback from like past clients about like my trips and the different things that I've done. And it has helped me connect with people more because they don't care. Like 9 out of 10 people are friends with at least 10 real estate agents and they're seeing the same thing on their social media every single day.
Mhm.
So they like that breath of fresh air that I'm not constantly on there telling them that I sold a house today or what the trends are, or you know, they want to see that I just yelled at my husband because he bought a house and didn't tell me, or you know, that I have 50 books being delivered at my front door and I shove them in my cushions so that he can't see them. So
That's so great. Diana, something else you do good that I would like to share to people. You're always so good at adding, I don't even know what they call it. Is it a sticker maybe? On your story, you'll always add like an extra little, you found even like a little KW that was moving the other day. I'm like, how did you find that? I didn't even know that existed. So you're always good at doing a little extra love to it.
yeah, I mean, it's funny because you can learn all that from other Instagram reels. Like I just save them and then I go back and I try to do what they just taught me. And I'm like, I would have never thought to do something like that. I don't have to hire, I can do that myself. Like I can add that extra girly touch to it. And I'm like, I would have never been able to do that.
Yes, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think that's a huge, just to kind of go back to what she was saying, is we aren't doing anything new. I mean, with everything that we're doing on social media, we're really just going in and looking at what everybody else is doing. And we're not copying it, but we're doing something very, very similar and then putting our own spin on it. So similar audio, similar trends, similar little tags that Jill was talking about, just doing things that are similar, but then making it more personable for you.
I think that's so great.
Hmm.
Um, what else is in carousels? So it's funny, I have actually never done a carousel. I don't know if you guys have. They did talk about it in this class as one of the 2024 trends. So I do want to share it with you guys. But carousels, if you don't know, if you're on the call, say it's it's one topic, but you can kind of, it's almost video meets picture, if you will, like you're gonna go through a story. But they said the magic formula for it, and this is their formula for a carousel or for video, is to captivate, educate, and then activate. Activate is the call to action. So your first frame of your carousel is something to captivate them. Or if you're doing a video, like what's going to catch them really quick so they stop scrolling? Then educate on whatever you wanted to educate on, and then activate. It's a call to action. So they said this is a must follow formula. What they like about carousels, it's a little more visual. And they also said this is a great way to share realtor humor. But something they said in this class that I think is super important to bring up here is they said realtor humor is great if you are trying to grow your team and attract agents, or if you are an owner looking to attract agents to your brokerage or market center. Outside of that, if you are an agent looking to build the amount of business you're doing in a year, realtor humor isn't necessarily going to land. You're entertaining other realtors, you're not entertaining your target audience. And your target audience is buyers and sellers for most of us on this call. So, and I can think of a lot of agents who, I mean, there are some, what's that? Actually Agents. It's a hilarious site. And people share it often, and it's okay to share, but also just realize what we're doing is who is our target audience, and we're not trying to entertain other realtors. We're trying to attract buyers and sellers. And sometimes the realtor humor can just land, might even be mildly condescending to a client, or it might land confusing. But my question for you guys is, I feel like typically with these carousels, and I'll even use this with Canva images, oftentimes carousels have like the pretty Canva image or something to start them out. I've heard in a lot of classes to stop using a lot of Canva images just because social media will pick that up immediately as you are selling something. Do you guys have any thoughts on this as far as carousels or the Canva images? Any other thoughts on this page? Welcome.
So with Canva, after you save it, if you screenshot it, you rarely have any issues. Because then it picks it up as a screenshot from your phone versus something that you're adding straight from Canva.
Wow, Diana, between that and the not using a top 10 song, but you and Journey, these are two really good things I'm writing down and highlighting.
Yeah, because so this past year, I started posting a little more, and I did do it with the Canva, and I did notice it. But then once I started screenshotting what I was doing and then transferring it over to Instagram, I've gone from like 60 views to 300 views from people like in my Facebook friend list, so.
Awesome. That's really good. Journey, anything you would add?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I know that I don't do a ton of the carousels. I know our social media person, he is very, very big on video content. So I know that that's definitely been the main focus. But exactly what Diana just said, just little things like that are able to separate you are what's going to be big. And I think one of the other things with carousels is hashtags. I know that they're not as powerful as they used to be. But they can still be useful to drag your post and make it hit other people and show up in other areas like Explore on Instagram versus just going out to your network of followers.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay, so we also have CapCut style content. So they say here, keep it humor based. Pop culture references are good. And pop culture references that anybody in your demographic would recognize. And also you want to keep it on brand. Something I noticed they said too in regards to the pop culture. So yes, like you can make a video on CapCut, but they're also saying to use it for these humor or pop culture references. So, for example, in the class I was on, I don't know if you guys have seen it's not Chris Rock. I don't know. There's a guy going like viral, comedian. I don't know why I'm forgetting his name, but he's telling somebody to come here, and then and she said, those are huge right now, because what you can do is almost you could have a still image behind it of a house, whatever you want it to be, and then in CapCut use a certain pop reference. Taylor Swift was just super huge over the Super Bowl.
Kevin Hart.
Use it. Yeah. Oh, yes. Thank you, Sarah. Kevin Hart. It is a hilarious one. They referenced him. Thank you so much for adding that in. But these are great because it makes people laugh a little, and you can also still share in what your expertise is. So do you guys follow any of the pop culture trends, and is it a way you use it to connect?
I'll let you take that one first, Journey.
Sure. I would say I think it's something that I used to use a lot more often. I don't use it as much anymore. I think the biggest reason, just saying, going back with Alex, he's really, really big on doing video content and providing a lot more value. And that was something I was going to kind of get into a little bit later too, with just providing value with the videos and the content that you put out. So I wouldn't say that I have a ton of content like this or have this as a main focus right now.
Mm-hmm. Diana?
I would probably have to agree. You know, I don't do any of that. I know that Mike David, Alex does most of our stuff for us, and you know, the stuff that we do, it's just our, you know, authentic stuff that we just put out ourselves, and we don't ever reference it to anything in particular.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep, absolutely. And I think too, of all they were saying, that things that are in right now, we can take one of these and double down on it. Like, even if you just start videoing more or making reels, period. I don't think it has to be all of this, but maybe something. You got to pick what matches you the most.
I would 100% agree with that.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And which kind of goes into this last slide we have here. Is it the last slide? I believe so. What's in is as much authenticity as you can stomach. So you guys, this is one of the hardest things about social media, because it's vulnerable, and vulnerability within reason. People earn the right to hear your story. We don't want to share too much, but vulnerability within reason is always in, more than anything. And the more you show your personality and heart, the more raving fans you would create. I'm super, super passionate about this. Like, even take every trend, whatever, off. If you guys can simply be yourself and be true to who you are, try and combine that with your real estate business, there couldn't be anything better you could do on social media. So my question for you guys here is, do you have an example of a video you've done where you weren't necessarily educating about real estate? It was maybe something more just real or funny or possibly vulnerable, and you got good results or feedback from it?
I'm sure you've seen the video a couple months ago. It's the one where I sitting at the dinner table yelling at Mike about how he bought a house and didn't tell me, and he gave that like really guilty face. A lot of people, we got a lot of feedback from that one.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, people just love, you know, they want to know once they see it, they want to know what we're buying, how we're doing it, how they can do it. And it opens up just a whole nother can of worms when they see that there are other things besides, you know, buying and selling houses. Like, yes, it is about buying and selling houses also, but it's not like the business side of our relationship. It's what happens behind the scenes. Like we don't, it's not like transactional. We fight about telling the other person. Like he was walking out the door when he told me, "Oh, by the way, I bought a house," and he shut the door and left.
Surprise.
So I'm like, yeah, things like that.
Oh, so very true. Journey, what about you?
Yeah, I don't think that there's any one video that really comes to mind that did extremely well based on, what we're talking about here. I think the biggest like feedback or results that I've gotten were from my like market updates that I was doing for a long time, along with my like property analysis that I was doing on recently. And so I think those are the biggest things, and they are real estate related for sure, but they have my spin on it in a sense of being very, very analytical. So going in and talking about the numbers, and talking about a specific area or a specific property, and really just kind of breaking everything down in a very, very simplistic form. And I think just the way that I talk or interact, like you said, just being human. I think that's one of the biggest things, that just because you're in front of the camera and you're trying to put this content out in front of other people, it needs to be just like you're talking to somebody else. It needs to be just like you're trying to explain it to somebody or talk to somebody in casual conversation. It's not supposed to look like you're trying to record something for somebody. It needs to be just like somebody was recording you naturally talking to somebody else. It shouldn't feel structured or rigid whenever you're trying to put out content.
Mhm. Absolutely. It's funny. I even laughed when I was in this class because I have just recently, I heard my coach talk about B-roll and I was like, what's B-roll? What are you talking about? And for those of you, I'm probably butchering it. So Diana or Journey, you can correct me. But B-roll is the video of, maybe it has you showing a house, but you're not talking into the camera. And typically it'll be a voiceover or something. You're not directly facing the camera. It could be a montage of other videos. And I was thinking, gosh, I have to get better at that, or I need to create a video that's B-roll. And they started sharing about this and vulnerability and authenticity. And yes, you can get fancy with it. And yes, you can do B-roll. But I also think the more you can just be yourself, the better you are going to be. So now I'm going to get into some more Q&A with you guys. And again, if anybody has any questions, I don't think I could see the chat during sharing the screen, but you can put a question in the chat or unmute yourself. But my first question for you guys is, one of the hardest things about Reels or video is knowing what to talk about or just simply coming up with the content. How do you determine what your content is going to be?
So a couple weeks ago, I went to a home inspection and I took a book with me, and I went over the book, and then I walked through the house, kind of like giving it like a creepy basement vibe. So it went with my book, and I actually got a buyer through that video. So
Wow. That's
yeah.
So the unplanned even.
Yeah, it's just one of those, like, I'm sitting here, I'm bored, I don't want to read right now, so I'm gonna pretend like I'm reading, and I'm gonna go let everybody see what I'm actually doing, and then someone will be like, "What was behind that door?" Or just things like that.
That's
So.
awesome. Journey, what about you?
Yeah, I would say that things have kind of gotten easier now, working with a social media manager, working with Alex, because he does a lot of that creative portion of it. He will be able to kind of generate ideas just through conversation, literally just saying, what did you do this week? What did you do this month? And then just pulling information and videos from that. But one of the things I was doing before I had a social media person was I would get inspiration from seeing what other people are doing. So I kind of mentioned it before. I don't have as much time as I used to, but going through on Instagram late at night, or TikTok, and then just kind of getting caught in like realtor TikToks or trends and going through and seeing what is popular, what other people are doing, and kind of getting inspiration through that. And then taking, what other people are doing. I don't have a good example of it right off the top of my head, and then just kind of relating that to things that I'm doing or that I'm doing, the next day. So I know if I have an inspection the next day, and I know it's going to be in a really cool area, or I know that the house is in really, really bad shape, and just showing something that's going to be interesting for some people, and just trying to create ideas that way. One of the biggest things that helped me a ton was when I actually started time blocking it. So when I would set aside, from 8 to 9 a.m. or 8 to 8:30 a.m., whatever it is going to be, that this is my content creations time, that I need to be able to come up with 2, 3, 4 ideas of what I'm going to record. Once I was able to actually put that on a calendar, that's when I was really starting to be able to generate those ideas.
Hmm. And something I noticed too is if you pay attention to people's content, it doesn't necessarily have to be, hi, I'm going into another listing appointment. Hi, I'm going into another listing appointment. It doesn't matter how busy you are in real estate, you can make yourself look really busy. I had a Glover quote on in the beginning, something I've noticed on, and I see people from his team do it all the time, like they'll have their feet walking onto an airplane, or it could be, it doesn't necessarily, it could be you opening up the lock on a house. It doesn't, and that could be, maybe you weren't even showing it to a client if you're slow on business and you're just touring it for yourself. Nobody has to know, like, just these simple videos, and that's like perfect content of something you could put into a reel. How important or how many times are you guys posting a week? Like, do you think it is important for video to hit your social media X number of times a week?
I probably post about 4 times a day on my Instagram and Facebook story. And like I told you earlier, I try to make it different things. And most of my stuff is spontaneous. So like I'll be in Lakewood on a Saturday with Peyton, and I will take videos of different stores that I'm going to and different shops, and just showing like the neighborhood to people.
Mhm.
So, and it's like I said, it wasn't planned. I'm already there, so why not let people know the things that they don't really know are in that city that potentially be investing in or buying a home in. So,
Absolutely. Journey, what about you? Do you have a rule of thumb?
Yeah, so I think that we post 3 times a week right now. And that is just the like intentional short form video content. Exactly like Diana said, stories are every day. I have a story every day of something, and it's so small. That's the point of stories, is just showing where you are at, what you're doing that day. Even if you just sit down at your computer, it's 9 a.m., you open your computer and it's a cool screensaver and a cup of coffee next to you. Just take a picture. Just show somebody what you're doing. If you are driving by, you're at a stoplight, or you got to a house and there's a house that's burned down next door, or there's a really, really nice renovated house next door, just taking a picture of things that you're seeing, and posting them on your story. And they can just be pictures, they can just be videos, whatever it is. But I would say stories are every day, of what you're doing, and then actual content, whether that be posts or videos, have to be at least 3 times a week.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what I think with stories as well, what I've noticed is people might be afraid to comment on your post, but they're not afraid to comment on your story. And
mhm.
it gets, you guys, we look at how many times do I need to touch my database in a year? And it used to be 36. Now they're saying even more. But 10 a year, even once a month or more than that, comment on their story, because people always respond to it. And that's two-way communication right there. So that's, I think, like this underutilized tool we do not talk about enough.
Yeah, even a step further on that is when you comment on other people's posts or you respond to their stories and DM them, it creates an algorithm within Instagram, especially. I don't know about other sites, but Instagram for sure, where if you are
Facebook too.
communicating with them, exactly, yeah, you show up more often. So your stories will then be on their first page of stories because you guys interacted recently. Your post will show up more frequently when they're just scrolling. Is when you DM people and you react to people's content, your content will then show up on their page as well.
Ah, that's awesome. So that is another nugget. Write that down. Comment on as many stories as you can. Kind of on that subject, because Diana, you talked about being in Lakewood with your daughter. How important is it to keep posts related to your business? Do you guys have like a work-life balance of personal life, realtor life? Because I do think it's important to connect as a person. I don't know. What are your thoughts around that?
I think people want to see that you're a real person, like
Mhm.
that you have your flaws. You are doing other things than um out there just selling real estate. Like they want to know your stories. They want to know about your vacations. They want to know about your kids. Like, Mike and I just redid a bunch of rooms in our house. I made sure to post every time he painted a wall for me or I was picking out furniture because then everybody wants to know what color you used, where you bought your furniture, and it was just the messages were flowing in. And it's like what Journey said, they send you a DM. And now these people I haven't talked to in forever who have seen my story just are now like randomly popping up.
That's so true. And Diana, it's interesting because when you posted another food for thought, people love to give their opinion. And when you asked about the color, it made me like emotionally involved in the story. Which color did she pick? What's it look like now? Oh, this looks great. Oh, I love all the plants. So the more you can get
Yeah.
people communicating with it, I think that's great. Journey, what about you?
Yeah, I think it's really the small things that you don't think are important or that you don't think are going to work usually do. One of the things that I probably post almost every day on my social media is my dogs. Me and
Same.
my girlfriend, we have two dogs. We don't have kids or anything like that. People love dogs. If you buy one dog, he's a corgi and he does just crazy stuff all the time. Just taking a picture of him. One of my dogs was just sleeping on the chair next to me while I was working the one day. I said that my assistant's sleeping on the job. Just really, really small stuff. People love it. So just being able to take and just really notice it and think about if other people are going to enjoy that because you are enjoying it, I will guarantee there will be someone else there that will be able to relate to it. So everyday things that you do that are important to you, like I said, coffee. I drink coffee every morning. Some people hate it, some people love it. It's going to be something that people are going to react to. So just things like that are going to be good.
It's great. So, we had that quote in the beginning of people have already interviewed you and probably know if they're going to work with you from your social media prior to the listing appointment. So if future clients are looking at your profile prior to using you as their agent, what would you recommend as do's or don'ts on your social media?
I talk about politics. I try not to ever bash past clients or even talking bad about other real estate agents because it's just not classy. I try to stay authentic as possible. I'm married to Mike Magno, so I'm constantly catching myself cussing and people, they comment on it all the time, but we don't have a filter. Like it's an F-bomb left and right. So some people don't like that, but you know, they know that that's what they're getting and it doesn't stop our business. Like we had someone who found us on our website, saw that it was just the two of us, looked us up on Facebook, and now he's buying a second home with me because he likes that we were a husband and wife couple and he knew that what he saw on social media is what he was going to be dealing with.
For sure.
Yep. Yeah, I would agree. I would say being very authentic. Going back to that be human page of just not being robotic, being very, very human as to what you actually do every day. And so that way they can kind of, like you said, interview you before they even interview you. I think that social media isn't ever really going to be your main source of business or your main source of energy, because it's just not sustainable. At least in my mind, in our market, it just doesn't work. You need other leads, but it is the best backboard that you can possibly have. Every single person I talk to, interview with, if you haven't already, go and find me on social media. It's just my first and last name. You can get to learn a lot more about me, if you haven't already. So social media now is what websites used to be, 10, 15 years ago. Social media is your website. I know that I don't have a very good website out there that has a lot of information about me. I tell people to go to my social media. That's where you're going to see my face. That's where you're going to learn about what I'm doing. That's where you're going to learn about what I'm able to do for us as well.
That's a great point. And I do think, are you necessarily getting a whole, if you want to do 50 homes in a year, are you going to get 40 of your clients from social media? Probably not. Yet they are going to be interviewed. It's almost like your portfolio. It is their way to get a peek into who you are before they even know you.
It's your resume. It's a realtor's resume.
Yes.
Is your social
Resume.
media.
That is the word I
Yeah,
was looking for.
I mean, every business does it. I mean, even when I was in the restaurant business, like the first thing you do after somebody applies is you look them up, so it's just, it's always good. It's like Googling someone, but it's easier to get the information off social media than it is to actually Google someone.
It is. I've even noticed if I travel now, I will go to summer wardrobe in Austin 2023. I will almost go to TikTok for that before I would. It used to be Pinterest or Google. Like now I'm going to TikTok for restaurant recommendations or what color I should paint my nails. Like it's crazy. So of course, we talked about the millennials and Zoomers that are going to be purchasing. You think they're not going to search, plug your name in on their social media? Like without a doubt, they are.
Yeah. And I think that your social media shows up on Google now, even more than it did ever. If you Google yourself or you Google any one of us, I guarantee social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, like those are going to come up on the first page of Google too. So when you have a good social media, it's going to be on Google as well.
Yeah, that's a great, great point. And that also made me think, ooh, have I Googled myself? Don't know what comes up.
You've never Googled yourself before?
I mean, I have. It's funny, my son, he must have in school because he came home the other day and he was like, Mom, your wheelchair picture came up on Google today. Go ahead, Landon. At any rate, is there anything we didn't cover on this call that you guys think is important to deliver to agents who are listening?
I think I have one.
Yeah.
I think one of the ones that I would say would be consistency. I think that social media takes a very long time. Just like in our industry, no one sells 100 houses in their first 6 months. It's you can't do that. You have to have a lot of time and a lot of work put into it, and it takes a lot of time. It's like a slow train. It's going to be really, really slow to kind of build up, but once that train's going, it's going to be really, really hard to stop. So staying consistent, try and set yourself that goal, like we talked about, 3 posts a week, stories every day, even if it's just one story every day, but being consistent about it. Because if you go 2 weeks with posting consistently, then you take a month off, it's just going to restart your cycle of showing up on people's information and people's content. And it's something that takes a long time. I didn't get probably a single lead or a single contact in 6 months to a year of posting on social media. But now I have people who respond to my stories, respond to my posts, who reach out to me randomly all the time, every week. But it took me 3-4 years of posting consistently to get to that point. So you just got to be consistent.
That's such good advice. And don't get discouraged, like knowing it will come. How many people, even the podcasts, for example, I've heard people say, gosh, I wish I would have never stopped that. Like I did a few episodes and it was good. And, we have our own limiting beliefs. Oh gosh, nobody liked it. Or this didn't happen or that didn't happen. But with consistency, you will get the results. It's great advice. Diana, anything from you?
I mean, my situation was a little different because I had a leg up because Mike was already in real estate. When I got my license, I got my first listing within the first month I was licensed. So And it was just posting on social media, letting everybody know that I got my real estate license. You know, I used Facebook Messenger as my main source of lead gen. That is still the only source of lead gen that I use. But I would say just being authentic. Like when you try to memorize the things that you want to say, it gets harder for you to relay those messages, and then you just feel awkward, and your videos just seem awkward.
Mhm.
So just don't overthink it. Be spontaneous, be authentic. Don't worry about the questions. You know, you sent me those questions yesterday. I glanced over it and Mike was like, "Oh, you need to take notes." I'm like, I can't take notes because then I'm going to freak out. Like, what if I didn't say what I wrote down correctly?
Yes.
So yeah,
Shoot for
you
the
just
hip.
just go for it. You know, you can delete it. It's not
Mhm.
going to be the end of the world. If you don't like it, try it again, but just don't put too much pressure on yourself.
That's so true. And, we've said authenticity so many times on this class today, and I feel just doing it and not being too scripted or prepared is going to bring more authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think something that you mentioned, Diana, was you have, there's a lot of people, especially through coaching and through everything else, that you have to tell people you're in real estate, and you have to tell people that you're an agent now. You reach out to your sphere, and I think it's what everybody does, and so I think you just need to be more natural with reaching out. Telling, like, something that I did and that I still do is every single day I go onto Facebook and I see whose birthday it is. I just
Mm-hmm.
message them and say happy birthday.
I
I
do
don't
the
say,
same thing.
yep, yeah, I don't say, hey, happy birthday. By the way, I'm also an agent. If you're looking to buy or sell, I'd love to work with
Yeah.
you. I just say happy birthday. Hope you guys are doing well. Saw you guys just got a new dog last month. Hope the training is going well. You just don't say anything. You don't always have to say something about real estate. If you reach out to people, they'll see your name, they'll click on your profile, they'll go check out your page. As long as you have realtor or realtor content in your page, they'll know. You don't
Mhm.
always have to say it. You just have to touch base with them.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's what I tell everybody I talk to about how to do it. Because as soon as you say happy birthday to them, guess what they're gonna do? They're gonna say thank you. And there's the conversation.
And now you have two-way communication.
Yep.
That's
And now
great.
you're in their algorithm.
There it is. Guys, thank you so very much. Again, if you don't follow them, I hope you do follow them. They're both goals for me on social media. This is such an important topic, and I appreciate you guys being here.
Thank you for
Thanks
the
for having us,
opportunity.
Jill.
Absolutely. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.